Some mothers may encounter challenges with their milk supply, which can lead to feelings of frustration and concern. Understanding the signs of low milk supply is crucial for identifying and addressing the issue early on. It's the Mom Hack YouTube channel. Subscribe and let's get started. But I want to say that this problem is real in few women. Many mothers worry about not having enough milk, but usually they don't have a real problem. This is just a concern. So, signs of low milk supply. Insufficient weight gain. One of the primary indicators of a low milk supply is inadequate weight gain in the baby. In the initial weeks after birth, newborns should gain weight consistently. If your baby is not gaining weight as expected or is not meeting growth milestones, it could signal that they are not receiving enough milk during feeding sessions. Reduced number of wet diapers. Adequate milk intake is closely associated with the number of wet diapers a baby produces. During the first few days, a newborn should have at least 1 wet diaper per day of life, and after the first week, 6 or more wet diapers per day. If your baby is producing fewer wet diapers, it might indicate a lack of sufficient milk intake. Insufficient dirty diapers. Just as with wet diapers, the frequency of bowel movements can be a helpful indicator of milk supply. During the first month, breastfed babies may have several bowel movements each day. However, this frequency can decrease with time, but if your baby is having infrequent or dry stools, it may indicate an inadequate milk supply. Short and fussy feeding sessions. Babies usually feed for an extended period to ensure they are getting enough milk. Short and frequent feeding sessions, combined with fussy behavior and signs of hunger after feeding, might suggest that your baby is not getting enough milk during each feed. Lack of audible swallowing sounds. During a successful breastfeeding session, you should hear audible swallowing sounds as the baby consumes milk. If you do not hear these sounds or notice minimal jaw movement, it could indicate that the baby is not receiving enough milk during feeding. No feeling of fullness or letdown sensation. For some mothers, a sense of fullness in the breasts, or a letdown sensation accompanies breastfeeding. However, mothers with low milk supply may not experience these sensations, or they might diminish over time. Engorgement resolution. Engorgement is a common experience during the first few days of breastfeeding. However, if the engorgement suddenly resolves without any other changes in feeding patterns, it could suggest that milk production is not sufficient to meet the baby's needs. Extended interval between feedings. While longer stretches between feedings might seem like a positive development, especially for tired mothers, it could also be a sign of low milk supply. If your baby starts spacing out feedings significantly or sleeps for prolonged periods without waking to feed, it might indicate they are not getting enough milk. I recommend looking at the problem in general, because some situation may coincide. For example, the baby poops less. In one situation, this is an indicator of a small amount of milk, and in another, it is simply the adjustment of the gastrointestinal tract. And this problem is solved without additional help. If you are really producing little milk, then you should change your feeding schedule. Allow the baby to constantly suck the breast, even with a break of 5 minutes. You should also drink a lot of warm tea. Usually, this helps. If you suspect that you have a low milk supply, don't hesitate to seek support and guidance from a lactation consultant, pediatrician, or a breastfeeding support group. With the right information and assistance, many breastfeeding issues can be resolved.